Hey everybody, good morning and welcome to the wild side. I'm still setting things up and we're gonna see if we can get a fire going. There it is. I used the shovel to bring some fire outside from the fire inside. So it's not like I was hanging out here. Oh, okay. All right, I know what happened last week and should be better this week. Let's see. Yabo. Okay. You guys hear me? Whoop, I hope I'm not yelling. Can you guys hear me? Hey, Royce and Jennifer, good morning. And good morning, Craig in Texas. Welcome, all of you, the rest of you, who, as I always mention, you are anonymous unless you say something. Clifton Clare. Hey, Cliff. Good morning. Glad you made it. I'm working on my camp. So, as always, please, somebody tell me if you can hear me. Hear you good. Good. All right. Thank you. Oh, hey, Chris, James. Thanks, man. So, oh, hey, Justin. Whoops. Good morning. Top of the morning, everybody. So I'll show you really quick where I am. As I always say, it's good to camp in your backyard. And I set up this camp when I got back from Tombstone. This has been sitting up for about 2 weeks or whatever it was since the 22nd, 23rd of October. And these poles in the front have fallen down because of the wind, and it's rained like tons, and yet my blankets have stayed dry, underneath has stayed dry. So this thing has stood up the stand of time. I checked everything to make sure it's dry or wet, and it's managed. So that's incredible. But there's my real house, just 20 yards away, whatever, 30 feet away. My broken down minivan and my newly running truck. So I'm really excited about my truck. That means I can finally move out to my other property, which I'm really excited about. Somebody brought me a elk hide with carcass, and I've been eating off that carcass. If you just boil the meat long enough, it's tender, and last night I finally made a stew. So things are good. I always love when I got a carcass to get meat off of. And like I said, I brought some coals out. So we're gonna see if we can get a fire going here. As I always say, oh crap. I just knocked my hook into the fire. As I always say, fire starting is so easy here. So this wood has been sitting in the rain as I just described, and it's only, yesterday was our first non-rainy day, and yet it's already burning. It's already dry, pretty much. There's some bigger pieces over there that probably won't dry so well, but I'm just saying that's how nice it is. And I get spoiled when I go. I get spoiled because then when I go like into the woods, up into the mountains where there's actually morning dew, pretty bad, then it's harder for me to start a fire. So that's why it's important to know where you're camping and know the conditions and what. Like I have an old video, my deer camping video, where I struggled to get a fire going, and I was weak and tired and wanted coffee and bacon, and eventually I got it going. But because I was new to the area, I had to find fire starter. I was using flint and steel at the time, and of course, when you struggle, that helps you learn because you don't forget those lessons. And so, you know, I do that stuff on purpose. Like I could have brought fire starter or whatever, but I like putting myself in those situations where it's not, I mean, there's no risk. Makes it more exciting, forces me to struggle a little bit. So anyway, lesson learned the hard way, that up in the mountains, it's harder to start fires. That's the point of it. Now here's another lesson. So I got this bag of tinder. I'm not totally against carrying tinder around. Problem is I barely ever use it. It's more for emergency. But anyway, I left it out here on the rocks where it wasn't covered by the tent, and so now it's all soaked. It's got, because there is some dew here, and well, and then it was also in the rain. But I've also done a video on starting a fire with tinder that's wet. Well, wet when you start with it, and then you work it. It took me about 30 minutes to make wet tinder usable. And so even though this is damp, the center of it's probably dry, but I know from experience that even if it gets damp, I can still manage to get a fire going. So anyway, I'm excited to do some camping, but I got horse issues and dog issues, as I always talk about, so it's hard to get out with the dogs, and not really motivating to get out when you got a really warm cabin to sit in with lights. And I mean, I'm like you guys, it's hard to give up the comfort. I just got this pan. It's a lot bigger than I expected. I use my face for comparison. I thought it was going to be like my old one, which the handle came off. That's why I needed a new one. But that's exciting, because if I do more camps with other people, then it's nice to have a set that's enough for 2 or 3 or 4 people. And that's how they did camp. Man, I got some fantastic books. I've been reading some killer historical information lately. Even last night, I was reading a book written in, I think it was also 74, but I've got 2 books now in 74. It's that one about the first, the miners, I think they were, I don't know yet. They went to the Dakotas and they weren't supposed to, up to the Black Hills, and they snuck away. So the government couldn't catch them. And not that I'm happy about that. Like I also sympathize with the Dakotas, or whoever it was that didn't want their sacred lands trampled on. But anyway, it's a great story, and there's some good detail about camping in there. First off, these guys from Wisconsin, they grew up farming, and it's funny because I think of Wisconsin, you know, that's like a little house in the big woods from little house on the prairie. I mean, that's rugged living for us, and yet these guys came out and they're like, he tells the story about how bad they were at camping and how much they missed their feather beds back home. So I thought that was a great perspective, you know, and it helps us really, it can help us to wrap our minds around it, because, you know, a lot of times we think, oh, well, those guys, they knew what camping was. And then here's a story of these guys, they grew up farmers, they knew how to shoot, but they didn't know how to camp. And so that's some great detail. So anyway, that's why it's important to learn how to camp. Oh yeah, I had some comments here, let's see. Oh yeah, Justin asked if I'm going to tan the elk hide. That was the plan, and then it rained right after I got it for a couple days, and I've been kind of busy, so I need to get to it. But now that my truck's running, I'm super busy. So I don't know. If I was fast and good at tanning, but like everything, it takes me forever, and I don't know if I'll get to it. We'll see. We're going to see how it does sitting out there in the rain. It should be fine. Foul-mouthed teacher. Hey, Bill, I always notch out wet wood and hang it to dry. It just burns fast after that. Yeah, that's smart. That's a nice, good tip there. I've been reading Pioneers of the Black Hills too. Yeah, same book. Just posted an impression photo of my crack at one of the Gordon party. Oh, cool. Yeah, so you know that, Chris, yeah, you recognize the book then. Yeah, it's incredible. And then reading these books written, so it's great to read the books that the guys wrote, like Teddy Blue Abbott. He wrote that in, I don't know, 1920s, 1930s. And he was reflecting on his days because he was there, which is a fantastic book. And there's a lot of books like that. I'm reading one now that's 1,000 pages long, 1,100 pages long, and it's all stories submitted by guys who were there. Fantastic read. The problem is sometimes with that stuff, you run across things that don't seem right, And you got to question, well, how good was their memory? And did they make a mistake on that thing? Because you don't want to question the people that were there, but at the same time, it's human nature. And so there's a lot of questions that go into reading that stuff. But when you read a book that's written in 1874, even if they misremember something, they can't misremember something that happened in the 1900s or in even the 1880s. So anything that they misremember and get wrong, you can still know is current for the time. So like, I don't care if the details are wrong about the story. I'm there for learning about the culture or what they had at that original time. So I'm pretty excited. I've been sitting around reading the last few days. It's hard to break away and do anything else, which was kind of fine because my truck was broke down anyway, and I've been just sitting here. I wanted to move to my other property before I went back in early October, but since I was going to Tombstone, it didn't make sense to move and then leave on my trip. And then when I got back, well, before I left, my truck broke down. This fire and the sunshine are making me hot already. So then my truck broke down. It's taken a long time to get it going. And so I'm stuck here. Been stuck here. Let's see. Been doing primary. Every mention of revolvers failed to mention the model. Only Colt's revolver as usual. Yeah, I've been learning so much about 1870s cowboys, which some of you might know that was a big question. Like, what was an 1870s cowboy? You know, to what extent had they been, to what extent were cowboys established, like the look, the image, the culture in the 1870s? A couple weeks ago, it was a mystery. I had a hunch, but that was all, and you can't base anything off that. Now I have absolute proof. I mean, you can't beat this proof. I mean, you still, I just, on everything, I always question everything, but, so that I'll still learn. But I've got multiple references now saying that there was an established look of the early cowboys in the 1870s. One even as early as 1871. So I'm just excited this week. It's been a great learning history week. So it wasn't so bad that my truck was broke down. Meanwhile, I also processed some oil, some fat, pork lard. I processed two types. One type is the kind that smells bad. Actually, I don't know if I'm going to use it. It smells pretty bad. I processed it. I don't know why. I've done it before. But anyway, this is the one that tastes good, that you can use for pie crusts and biscuits that we're used to. A lot of it has to do with tastes that you're used to. But this has a good taste. It's the kind that's always been sought after. It's the leaf lard. So I put it in this old tin thing that is for milk. And it's probably got lead solder in it, I suppose. That's why I don't use it for anything hot. But as long as you don't heat up the lead. So when I poured the hot oil in, I'm hoping it didn't leach the lead in. We'll see. But I don't think it did. I let the oil cool off a bit and then poured it in, then put it in the creek so that it would cool off quickly. So anyway, I'm going to try to make biscuits here, but I'm burning cottonwood, and cottonwood doesn't really create coals, even though I brought out some. I could go inside and get some coals, some maple coals. As I've tried burning fire on top of it, and it's too hot. And but anyway, I also seasoned some cast iron recently because I'm trying to get things set up, get practiced on a bigger camp in case we ever do a camp of multiple guys. Then I want to. I've got my big Dutch oven, and there's two ways. Cowboys almost always traveled with a wagon, and when they didn't, it would have been like when they were traveling from one ranch to another after a trail drive. But even then, they would often just stay in settlements. So the kind of camping that I've been doing for a few years, it's not very typical of cowboys. But anyway, all right, let's see. Fun note every minute, yeah. Oh yeah, so I've been learning. Hey, Lone Ranger, welcome. Good morning. Yeah, so Chris James pointed that out. So that's one of the other pursuits is what weaponry did the cowboys carry? And so there's people that make claims that are not justified or verifiable. Like one claim is that they didn't carry guns like we think, and yet every account I read talks about them having guns at their side. And then Winchesters. One account said they referred to all guns as Winchesters. I think that was an account. It was before I started writing things down. That they just referred to that Winchester became like Kleenex. You just call your rifle your Winchester. But they're always talking about having Winchesters, but they keep them in the wagon. I ran across one account where the boys were not armed with revolvers. I think they had one amongst them, but that was really early. And it was these guys, these young guys, they went and drove a small herd of cattle. I think it was 600, which was small back then. And so it was kind of a unique situation. It wasn't, it was just them saying, hey, let's do this for the first time. And then they almost died because they didn't have guns. And so you can bet they got guns as soon as they could. But that was an exception because there's so many, like I say, so many accounts of them having guns. Now, if you get into the 1890s cowboys, because that's a thing that we rarely talk about, the 60s and 70s cowboys were primarily Texans, and they were a different breed because they had to fight Indians, and thieves were really bad in the 70s. And then in the 80s, most of the Indians were less of a threat, but they were still there. But it wasn't like the early cowboys that really had to fight them a lot. And then by the 90s, things were more peaceful. And that's why you hear these stories about them just putting their revolvers. Also, the early cowboys were really wild. It's kind of like construction. When I started construction, working it was in the 90s. And so I'd meet these guys that worked in the 70s and 80s, and they said, man, it's changed so much. We used to have fights all the time. Somebody say something, you just crack them. And people showing up to work drunk and everything. By the time I got to work in construction, it had mellowed out, and like you get fired and no fighting and that kind of thing. So the cowboy thing, it's very similar, I think, that because cowboys were wild. Shooting up towns is a seriously a common occurrence of just going in, shooting up the town for fun because they'd get drunk and wild. And so pretty soon being like 90s, the ranchers started saying, okay, you can't carry weaponry unless you need it. Towns started telling people no guns in town, but of course they just snuck them in. So anyway, blanket statements about the cowboy era is not smart because it was developing from the 60s and 70s to where it was more, well, and then in 1886, 87, the trail drives ended, and then it was more like ranching, and it started to turn into ranching as we know it, where they were using fences because the farmers pushed them out. But I've talked about that last week. Hey, Jose, just dropping in to say hi. You got to get back to your animals, feeding the animals, cutting the ice. Yeah, so anyway, pretty excited about all the stuff I've been learning. So a lot of details about camping. And I posted on Facebook about how the ever elusive camp outfit, because I've got like the character for the 60s, the cowboy guy that wrote up here, 60s, 70s. in my area. He was a packer and a cowboy, and he mentions having a camp outfit, but he doesn't go into detail, and it's so frustrating. But then after that, I did get some detail about a camp outfit, and there's been a couple mentions of tents, but that's in certain contexts. All right, I may have mixed enough fat in here. Supposed to do it till it's grainy. Now I need some water. This was super hot. I'm gonna make sure it's cooled off enough. I don't think it has, it's too hot. So it's gonna start cooking as soon as I put it in. But now the catch is, I don't have any decent way to cook this. I think I'm gonna just hold it over the fire and flip it. Eventually I'd like to make biscuits in the Dutch oven, you know, like we know them. Cut them into, or tear them into little round biscuits. But I'm not gonna do that now. Oh, also for my camp, I got this butter tin so I can carry butter and make biscuits. So if you guys are still on here, you know who you are. If we do a camp, I'll probably end up being camp cook because I'm practicing and getting equipped for it. All right. Wow. Surprisingly, that was the right amount of butter. All right. Or not butter, water. So I'm going to use this new pan. It's got little pieces of twigs in it because the bottom is oiled and it's got a handle, and I don't know. That's all. I was gonna put this in the Dutch oven, but like I say, it's just not worth it without having proper coals. I want to do Dutch oven baking, but if you're not equipped right with coals, it's just a mess. Also, I did have a that 1874 book that the Going to the Black Hills. They described cooking pancakes. Oh, it's just amazing reading that. So these guys cooked pancakes. It talks the specific ingredients and everything. It was such an excellent source. So yesterday I made pancakes in my wood stove. It turned out really good too. Okay, that wasn't enough water. I had a lot of flour left, but anyway, I'm gonna start cooking it. Let's see, I got flour left inside there, but no big deal. This is big enough bread for one guy. And then when you can actually just get that dough off your hands just by scraping it. Don't have to use water for everything. Because when you're hauling in water, that's a plus. So they did that whole description of cooking pancakes. They had never done it. They'd seen their mothers do it. What a world. Man, I was cooking for myself when I was, I don't know, 15 or 16. But these guys, they had seen their mother do it, so they tried to recreate it. It's a pretty comical story. It's really good. But to have an original story of pancakes, because I didn't know when pancakes had really started. But anyway. Okay, they talk about holding the pan. I really don't want to hold this pan for 30 minutes. I gotta see. Oh, hey, look at this. So I'm gonna rest, ouch, one side of it on a rock. On the other side, I got held up by a hook. That one's too hot, so I'm gonna move it. Can you see that? All right. So I got my pan, one side resting on the rock, the other side, because it's got this hanger thing, I got the hook on a string holding it, which, by the way, I got paracord out here. The reason I set up this camp was to get things, I got it set up so that I could get equipped, figure out what I need to get, what I'm short on, what I got going, and At the time, I didn't have enough rope, but then I went and got some at Harbor Freight. So I gotta reset it up. I thought by now I'd be tearing it down, or actually, we were gonna do a camp here and I was gonna take it down and reconfigure it. So, all right, well, hopefully that cooks okay. Cookie's favorite person in camp. Yeah, it makes sense to be nice to the cookie. Yeah, likewise, Cliff, anytime. If you want to reschedule another camp now, we certainly can. I'm looking forward to it. I'll find out soon if I've got a horse. My mare is lame. Lame as in can't walk, not lame as in you're so lame. But kind of sucks. It's kept me from riding. Well, my truck was broke down. I would have been riding every day, but couldn't even do that. But like I say, then I got my history books, so it all worked out. But anyway. All right, well, something tells me this bread is gonna get burned on the bottom because I'm having a hard time keeping it going. Well, we'll see. We'll see. So I left my saddle out here. It stayed dry. I did take my tinware because it was getting damp from the dew in the morning, and I didn't want it to rust because like this one was getting some rust on it. I also took in my revolvers, but I left this food. Like this is coffee beans and this is rice because I wanted to see if mice were going to come after it, and no mice ever came. And I wanted to see if it would stay damp. I mean, rice is cheap, I can replace it. But anyway, it's been untouched. No mice, no mold. Here's the rope I got, plenty of rope. And then I got soap. The mice aren't even messing with the soap. They usually do. So that's nice. Because it's been here now at least 2 weeks. See, my matches container is getting rusty. Anyway, just having it set up is a way to learn more about camping. That's why I always say that if you can just camp in your backyard, then it makes it a lot of preparation. Okay, a lot of spiders in there hanging out, so that's not fun. But my salt is damp, but salt is fine. It can get wet. It just got to break it again. And my pepper. So anyway, that's what's going on here. Where do you get your skillet? I need one like that. Yeah, this one is from South Union Mills, and I'm really happy with it. I can check later to see which size it was, because like I said, I thought it was going to be smaller, but it's a great size for. It's a good size, and it's not heavy. So the size doesn't it's not like it's a lot heavier than this one was, but it's a lot easier to use, especially like you and I are doing a horseback stuff, and so we can be a little heavier than backpacking. So Justin said, are the coffee beans green or roasted? Good question. They're green because I want to get out here and do the whole camp, the whole food thing, and do a video on it. We'll see if I get around to it, especially now that my truck's going. So I'm not sure if I'll take this down and do it out at the other property, or if I'll just do it here. We'll see. Especially with that pancakes account that I've got. I also took the label. So I ran across a picture. I'm not sure the date on it, but it had a clear whiskey bottle. It was clear, and you could see the label, and the label was elk's milk. I don't remember if it was elk's milk or old elk's milk. So that was really cool. So I Googled elk's milk whiskey to see if such a thing exists, and all I found was a bottle, an antique bottle that was up for auction. And it wasn't quite the same label design, so it was probably later, but I couldn't find any information. But I was hoping it was like old Overholt, where it's still in business, be able to get one, but that bottle was being auctioned for like $2,500. There's a lot of shapes and sizes of bottles back then, and I was surprised to see a clear one. I didn't know they came in clear. But I also am not certain that it was 1880s. You're gonna eat it and I'm gonna like it. Yeah. Yeah, it's rising. Let's see here. So I got the wood underneath it, but I'm hesitant to keep it flaming to keep the smoke down. If I would keep the wood burning, then there would be no smoke. But I'm afraid it would burn the bottom of the bread. And since I set up this tent correctly, those of you who watched my videos, all of them, you might know the drama of figuring that out. But since I'm basically facing east, I think I'm about due east, that takes the smoke away, rather than if I had my back to the smoke, or no, to the wind. If I had my back to the wind, then it would create that effect that brings the smoke back into my face. And that's what I dealt with for a few years until I finally figured it out. I think it was in the cold weather camping when I finally figured that out. And so now, setting up perpendicular to the wind. And I really want to have this thing done with triangular sides, this tent. I've got the canvas for it. I just got to find an upholsterer or somebody with a sewing machine that'll put the triangle sides on it. And then this tent would just be perfect for wind and rain, and of course snow too. But wind and rain are the hardest ones. So, and it wouldn't be that much heavier to add those sides, and I could still use it as a tarp and stuff. So that's my goal. All right. Oh, yeah, there we go. Let's see, just made biscuits last night, heating up. Oh, hey, outdoor videos with Brad. Hey, Brad. Just made biscuits last night, heating up the oven now to warm some with eggs. I just basically I haven't seen this. That's funny, because you're also 3 hours later. I'm getting really hot. That's also what you find with these tents if you've watched my videos. It doesn't take much of a fire to stay warm, especially when you got the sun beating down on you. But I mean, I don't think it's 50 degrees out. It could be, but anyway, the little fire with the backdrop like this, nice and low, just does the trick. And this is the first time I've tried this with a long stick, because mostly I want to be prepared to camp out I prefer the desert where there's not a lot of long sticks, but if I'm near water, there should be. So, but also in most cases, I wouldn't even be setting up a tent. I'd just cowboy camp. Well, all right, if we get some water boiling, I'll have some coffee here. Now the wood's flaming up. Hopefully it doesn't burn it. We'll see, we'll see. I stopped cooking bread for a long time. It's much more simple to eat that, well, because I was doing that comedy and mostly on the road in my van, it's way easier to cook hot cereal. And that hot cereal keeps me full until like noon or 1 o'clock. So it was way easier just to boil that. And for a while I got away from cooking the bread that I used to cook every day. So now I'm getting back to it because I got tired of that. Cereal, eating it for 2 years straight, something like that, for breakfast. Really convenient, but there is a point where I get tired of things. So this morning I finally had some again, and it wasn't horrible, but just kind of boring. All right, well, we'll see. It's still pretty soft. Yep, so pretty excited. Also, this is great here. I'm feeling claustrophobic. That's why I want to leave, because here, where I'm at here, it's great in the summertime when I just want to get out of the heat and hide in the shade, and I don't care about anything else because the heat's so intense. Then I love it here. But when the days are shorter and when we got a lot of cloudy days, then in with hills all around and stuff all around me, I start to get really claustrophobic. And you know, that's sort of that seasonal depression type of a thing. Not that I was getting depressed, it just weighs on me. And that's why I want to get out to my other property where even if it's cloudy, I can still see for miles and not feel like I'm closed in. And so that's why I'm really looking forward to getting moved to my other property. And we'll see how this winter goes, if I need to go to Arizona or not. I'm thinking, if anything, I might run down to Arizona for 2 or 3 weeks, camp in the desert, do some soul searching, stop at some hot springs in Nevada along the way, take a break from the winter. But we'll see. Maybe I'll just enjoy the winter too much and not want to leave. Still not boiling. This morning it took me forever meaning like 30, 40 minutes to get my freaking coffee going. I don't know why, but because first in the morning it's cold, I have to start a fire. Usually I just build a big fire and I find some way to prop my wood or prop my coffee pot in to boil the water. But that's kind of annoying because sometimes if I do it wrong, it'll spill in the fire. And so what I've been doing lately is starting a smaller fire to get my first pot of coffee going, make my coffee, and then build up the fire. But I'm not getting any, I don't know, it still takes the water forever to burn or boil. And so it still takes forever, and it doesn't warm the cabin up very quick. So I don't know, I might just go back to building the fire up as big as I can and propping it in there. I'll probably just do that in the morning. Anyway, that's what I was dealing with. Third world problems, or second world, maybe this would be second world problems. Well, if it's not burning, it's looking great. I don't see any. Usually if it is burning, it would be smoking from inside the pan. All the smoke is from the firewood. So hopefully, pretty warm here, 60. Huh. Yeah, we've been having cold weather. It's third world problems. I don't know if third world had metal pans, and they didn't have stainless steel. Oh wait, yeah they do. Okay, yeah, I'm confusing Stone Age with third world. Yeah, so anyway, what was I saying? Now there's no breeze, and now the smoke is a little bit in my face, but not bad. There it's gone. Man, this makes all the difference. Not having to, but if I could just put the triangle side on that side, even if it was just on one side, I forgot about that. Even if it was on one side, so it would protect me from the wind. Because right now I'm feeling a little bit of a breeze. And I've got a couple of tent designs that I really want to make. Because through trial and error, I know they are effective and efficient designs. So we'll see. Maybe I'll get to that. But even so, even with these additions that I'm working on, I want to start packing up my horse. Even if I'm not going somewhere, I want to pack her up to see how I can do with my with one cast iron pot. It's not here, I'd show you. It's not a huge one. It'd be big enough for me and the dogs. And camping with just a few other things like that. Also, I want to start packing up a month's worth of food. But it's kind of hard to get into that when I don't even have a horse to ride. I got to figure out what's wrong with my mare. And a pot holder, I forgot that was there. Can't get the pot holder wet, so then it transfers heat way too fast and it's useless. But it's damp, so it's useless. But I got these bags. I got a whole collection of bags now. I love bags. I bought this one, but the rest I made. And so I made another big canvas bag. That means my linen bags are available. So I'm thinking I'll fill these with one with rice, one with flour. And that would be like, if I filled these up, not all the way, like halfway, that'd probably be like 2 months worth of food for one person. When my dogs have passed on to the other side, that's my plan, is to go horseback riding for a month or 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever it turns into. So, all right, still really soft, but it might be time to flip. Poor Maddie over there, she's fat and black and gets hot really easy. So even in this weather, she'll lay out in the sun in the morning because dogs like getting their, what is that, chlorophyll or something? Their vitamin D from the sun. But then as soon as it warms up, she's looking for shade. So she's over there digging. You might see her in the background. She's digging to get a cool spot hidden by that log so she can get out of the sun. Okay, how about that? The handle is plenty cool to touch, so that works. Hey, and a perfect flip. How about that, Alabama? Roll on. All right, but I think this fire is a little too cool, which I could lower the pan. I think I'll do that. All right, let's see if I can get this pan effectively lowered instead of building up the fire, because the problem is if I build up the fire, it's going to be too hot just to get it built up. Maybe not. I talked myself out of it. Let's try that. That's damp. That stick is fairly damp. Probably because it's sitting on the ground. That's something I should probably practice. Because like I say, it's so easy here, I get careless. That if I were to start stacking my firewood off the ground, I'd probably, if I could put a couple sticks under it. Yeah, this is better. If I would have lowered it onto these coals are just going to keep cooling off, so I'd just be chasing them till I snuff them out and still wouldn't have any cooked bread. So, outdoor videos with Brad. Yeah, long camping trip. Gonna have ash cakes. Yeah, good call. Yeah, Brad, you should come up some year. Maybe the next 2 or 3 years. Come up camp. Speaking of different environments, I forget, are you Appalachia or whatever it's called? I think that's how it's supposed to be pronounced. I know I've asked you before. Yeah, this firewood is damp, so it's going slow. There we go. There we go. Yep, so getting things equipped. Just gotta start using it. Oh yeah, you're in PA. I keep forgetting that. I always think of you as more south. Well, all right. The coffee's going to be ready before the biscuits are. Well, it's a beautiful day. It would be a good day to do that elk, but I told somebody I'd help them with their trimming their horse's feet. I don't know. Maybe I'll push that off till tomorrow and get some things done today. Oh, you know what else you need? Always need a stoking stick. Stoke the fire. In this case, I need to center it. The fire was off to this side of the bread, so I didn't want that uneven cooking. There we go. Now I'm borderline too hot for the fire, too hot for the bread. That's the dilemma. People who watch my videos, some people who see my Facebook posts, they don't understand that we're limited. I mention it all the time. That we're limited on firewood types. Everything we have here burns fairly quick. Cottonwood burns hot and fast, so it doesn't leave a lot of coals. Now, if I was using big, heavy, thick firewood, then it might leave enough coals, but then I'd have to burn a fire for a couple hours, and also then I'd have to carry firewood cutting tools. I'm mostly, as many of you probably know, I always have done camping without any firewood cutting. I did some, and I mentioned it, where I brought a saw to see if I wanted to start doing it. And honestly, I think for wintertime, I might do that because there's so much sitting around time in the dark. And especially if it's really cold and I wake up at 2 a.m. and have to sit by the fire until it's light out. Which I really got to figure out. If I'm going to do historical camping with wool blankets, I really got to figure out how to make a bed that keeps me warm. I've tried, and I probably had half or 1/3 of the materials that I really needed. So it really gives you a lot of respect for those guys. The accounts that I do have of detail about people's camping equipment, they write it when they only have like 2 blankets. Then it's worth noting, but it's like when they write, they're like, well, it's just a camp kit. Everybody knows what that is, so they don't write detail. But when they really struggled and just had a blanket or 2 blankets, there was one mention where the guy said we each had a pair of blankets and our saddle blankets. They went out on pack horses. There were a few counts in the 60s where they were developing the cattle trade, and some guys tried using pack horses, but it wasn't long before the wagon was implemented as a common part of the cattle drives. And so this guy, he said, yeah, we had We had a pair of blankets and our saddle blankets. So that's 4. So there's a historical reference for 4 blankets, which is what I've been usually carrying. And then you don't know how many blankets they had when they were using a wagon. There's one account, early 70s, where they bought a 2-wheeled wagon. I've got 2 accounts of 2-wheeled wagons being used. But those guys, they sold it by the time they hit Dallas or Fort Worth. I think it was Fort Worth. And they bought a team of mules, and I think it was mules, and a wagon. They just called it a wagon. So they called the 2-wheel a cart. They said they sold the cart and bought a wagon of mules. So apparently a wagon made the most sense, and that was the most common. They'd throw their stuff in it, but not their revolvers. So many claims out there about this is what the Cowboys did, and it's just they just have no backing up for it. They don't even attempt to back it up unless they grew up as cowboys. Then their claim is, well, I've been doing this all my life, as if that has any bearing on how they did things in the 1870s. So it's great to find all this proof on what was actually done. I'm excited. All right. There we go. There's some boiling water. May not have bread for a while, but I've got coffee shortly. Let's see, where'd I go with it? Oh, this is my everyday coffee tin. Ginger snaps on one side, hammered copper on the other. Or is it copper? The top is fading. Anyway, it looks cool on the counter. Technically my coffee beans are ground too fine for Cowboy coffee, but I've used it and it works. A coarser ground is a lot better. Let's see, 4, 5, 6 huge teaspoons. This thing's not full, in case any of you noticed that. It's not even maybe a quarter full. So 6 looks like it was plenty. I do have my creamer because I'm not gonna leave civilization that much. Not for this. Now, what I need is some cold water to knock these the grounds down. The ground's got to sink, and as long as it's hot, it's not going to sink. I'm not going to use the creek water because I only use that if I'm boiling it and can sterilize it. So the only thing I can use is inside. You know what? My voice is starting to get dry anyway, so let's just go get some water. Oh, actually, we'll not get water. We'll take this with us. Oh, there's Maddie. I guess she gave up on her hole on